Welcome back. Episode 57. I don't know why I always appear first. I don't know. It's weird.
What's up, shitbags? Welcome back. I got Brendan self-conscious right off the hook. That's a perfect way to start. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in. We're always excited to be here, as always. Gotta thank all of our sponsors. Wouldn't be doing it without keeping on going. We're loving every minute of it, every episode that we've been doing. We hope you guys are enjoying. Again, we want to thank everybody for doing the seamless transition back over to YouTube. That's been great. You guys have been doing some awesome support over there, building that channel so that we don't have to worry about our episodes disappearing on Facebook. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for that. Huge thank you to Toxic Suppression, Crew First Culture, Taylor Tins, Jobtown Graphics. Wouldn't be doing it without anyone. We haven't thrown that plug in a little bit in a while about our merch. We still got some merch. Head over to the website if you're interested in that. But other than that, it's enough rambling from us. Let's bring in people everyone else wants to hear from. Mike and Bobby.
Hey,
welcome, guys.
Hey, guys.
How is it going? Thank you so much for being on.
It is going. It's moving and grooving over here in Long Island. We're going through we just came back from some conference stuff, and so things are going well. How about you all?
Great.
Fantastic. Bobby is really good at playing the frozen pictures.
Damn it.
I saw the breathing.
Oh, it wasn't the cars driving that.
I was like, there's freaking cars in the background of the movie.
I was trying to give as long as possible to make it as realistic as possible. And you still caught on.
Can't catch us that easy. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Why don't we get started? You guys give a little introduction about yourself. Tell everybody about you.
Sure. I'm Bobby Sowson. I'm one of the co-hosts of the HAZMAT Guys podcast. Been doing it for, over 10 years. So coming up on 11. Episodes on basically hazmat response, which has evolved into a training company and now a software company and a media company, and we keep growing.
Wow, that's awesome, guys.
And I'm Michael Monaco. I'm the other co-host of the HAZMAT Guys, along with Bobby. And everything he said. We come from a background in the New York City Fire Department, so hopefully some old tricks we can give, and we're just going to create more shitbags. We don't uncreate shitbags, so I don't even know why we're here.
The history of it is it can totally be a term of endearment. We've talked about it. Brennan and I used to work together. Our crew, our captain was Captain Shitbag. Shitbag can be a term of endearment when you really aren't one. But our motto is if you show up to work and the only thing you think about is to not be an actual shitbag, you're gonna do great.
So, have you ever heard the term hairbag?
No,
Airbag,
but that's more PG.
No. Yeah, it is a little more PG. But if anyone's ever heard the term hairbag, it actually stems from the New York City Fire Department in a time where hairbag was considered to be a shit bag. So,
there we go.
That's a little local slang for you.
My chiefs have been asking for PG versions, so maybe that's what we just got a
hairbag, and
don't be a hairbag.
It stems from people getting time off. They were at the way back 1800 style. They would get time off to go get a haircut. And if that policy was abused, you'd have to come back with a bag of your hair to prove that you got a haircut, and stems from being a hairbag.
Wow. That's
there
awesome.
Go. I learned something today.
Lesson. Yeah.
There you go. That's the end of the episode, guys. There you go.
Now,
that's the trick.
Where did shitbag come from?
Yeah, geez.
Brennan inspired it by finding a sticker online, and
scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah, there was a little bit of animosity, maybe between crews and stuff, and all of a sudden Brennan just slaps a sticker on the fridge, and it just said "Don't be a shitbag," and the rest was history. So,
still there, by the way, still there. Chief laughs at it every time it comes up to the kitchen table. It was pretty funny.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. We'll jump into the questions we have. We did have some questions sent in, and he just double dipped, so we might give the same guy 2 questions. But we're going to start off with a really simple one that we want to hear, and that's why hazmat?
Ooh. All right.
Go
for it, Mike. You can let it
up.
Well,
mine is a horrific tale. Not really a horrific tale. I got voluntold to go to hazmat. I had a random conversation with one of my insanely close mentees, Tony Tricarico, who, if you know him, you either love him or absolutely hate him. There's no in between. But was having a conversation while on a ski trip with one of the bosses in Hazmat 1 at the time. And they called me, and we were just kind of bullshitting and kapitzing for about 45 minutes. I only had about 3 years on the job at the time. And he asked the question, hey, like, do you ever see yourself coming to Hazmat one day? And I was like, yeah, one day. I think that would be cool. Ended the conversation, didn't think anything about it. The next day I went into work, there was a detail slip to Hazmat 1. And I was like,
Wow. That's
how I got into Hazmat. You got to understand, at the time, the company had been decimated after 9/11, and they were scraping the bottom of the barrel, and there I was stuck to the bottom of the barrel. They scraped me up.
I was a little more premeditated. I was doing my chemistry, school and stuff while I was sitting in an ambulance in East New York in the mid '90s, and then I got on with the fire. Went through tower ladder. Then 9/11 happened. I went over to a squad company, and I kind of kept the whole chemistry thing behind closed doors. And then eventually, when I went to enough fires and had enough fun, I kind of came out of the closet that I had a couple of, some chemistry degrees and stuff, and they were like, "You got to go over there with the nerds."
Yeah.
And
luckily,
it was the same firehouse.
I wonder, was that conversation anything like somebody actually like coming out to their parents, where you like sat down with the captain?
Yeah,
like, Cap, I got something I got to tell you.
I have to talk.
I've
Yeah, because I had to beat up on the nerds and everything like that when I was over in the squad, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go over and hang out with those. And
so you were probably the biggest bully too. You're the one that you had to try and make it known that was the hazmat nerds. I'm nothing like them. I
was an equal opportunity. If you were a shitbag, you are not going to have a good time when I was in the firehouse. Like I was, I would like to say I was merciless. I was, and even when I got off, retired, the wife was like, "Don't think you're bringing that shit home." Like she's like, I'm not your punching bag. I'm like,
oh yeah. Mine all the time. She shakes her head. She goes, "You could take them out of the firehouse, but you can't take the firehouse out of them." Yep.
Firehouse always comes home.
But awesome. Like hazmat was just the natural evolution of like where, the trajectory of my career was. I knew I was going to eventually go there, and not for as stupid as it sounds. Like there's a shitload of firemen, right? But there's less hazmat guys, and everybody thinks they're going to be the most badass firefighter out there. And then what happens is you retire, and then you're one of 11 billion badass firemen, and it's really hard to monetize that in the afterlife. But hazmat is incredibly lucrative.
Yeah. There's not too many positions on LinkedIn looking for people to break windows with hooks. Like it just doesn't exist.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. Well, I think I'm going to bring in our question from our guest, because I think this will go back to maybe even some of your origin stories, we'll say. But question from my coworker, who we call Gravy. He's on the hazmat team with me, and he says, "What incident changed the way you approach or handle a scene?" I know I'm shocked too. It was a great question.
It's a great question, and I wish I could give like a straight up answer to it. Like there was this one aha moment in my life where everything changed, and that's just not the case. To be very honest with you, very similar to how you operate as a firefighter, right? You come on, you're new, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're just trying not to get yourself and somebody else killed. You're trying to learn the job, because God knows the academy doesn't actually teach you to be a technician any more than the academy teaches you to be a firefighter. And you just slowly develop these techniques over time that make you become who you are as you respond. For me, there was no real listen, I've got more things in my life that I've screwed up on the I guess we call it the hazmat field, or the fire field for hazmat, but not one of them was a dramatic altercation for how I approach the scene. Every time I went out, things changed just gradually until I became who I was.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I can think about one instance where I proved out my own confirmation bias, right? Where I thought it was this kind of chemical, and even though all my meters would tell me something else, I was sure it was this, and I'm like, no, all these meters must be wrong, and like that, like that kind of thing was like, okay, don't be an idiot, don't do that stuff again, so like, put up a ground ladder, you put it up correct, you don't put the foot up at the top of the tip at the bottom, like don't leave your water can, like your 2.5 gallon extinguisher in a fire. It may or may not explode and open up, and then it could be bolted to your locker for 2 years. So all these little formative things are like
speculations.
Yeah, just allegedly this might happen. It's the summary of all of those little lessons that becomes that whole, and the guys that experience those things take those lessons and aggregate them. Those are the guys that are truly talented long range on the job. There's a shitload of guys that have the same amount of fires, same amount of incidences, same amount of lessons, but they're like, I don't have to listen to that. I'm better than that. And those guys are consistently shitbags.
Yeah. And then if you really want to take it one step further, you got the guys that won't listen to their own mistakes. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where somebody's got their ears open, their mouth shut, and they're learning from everybody else's mistakes. And those guys will, cream will fast rise to the top on that one.
There's the old saying is a smart man learns from his mistakes. Wise men learn from other people's mistakes. So you can 10x your whole career if you really keep your ears open.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of funny because we just talked on our last episode about recurring themes, and fire, hazmat, whatever, everything we talk about, it's failures. It's that learn from failures, learn to grow from them, and that they're the best lessons that we have in this job. Next question that I have for you is, how do you guys make hazmat training engaging and not just checking a box?
Fart jokes.
Tons of fart jokes. No, you know what? We actually have a class. We just came back from the Massachusetts HAZMAT conference yesterday, and one of the classes that we teach is a class called "You Suck at Teaching HAZMAT." Right, and it's not about hazmat at all. It's about the techniques that you need to master in order to teach adults. Right. And even when I say that, I'm saying you're teaching borderline autistic adults. Right.
That's very true. That's very true.
Now you compound it with a topic which you could make an argument that is a dry topic. Hazmat is a dry topic. But I don't think me and Mike, or even all of our instructors that we have with us, that anybody would go, yeah, that was boring as hell. Because the thing is that in order to make a topic, regardless, it's not hazmat, it could be fly fishing, it could be tying your shoes, it has to be a performance. You have to think about it less of a class and more of an experience. If you, as the instructor, start framing it in your head that I'm going to provide a performance and an experience to these people, they are going to be strapped into a chair and just riding this whole thing. It's a different feel.
Yeah. And that performance can look completely different depending on the type of person that you are, right? You get to develop your own sense of performance. Like I always try to look at mine as like a stand-up comedy bit, right? Where I'm trying to time, interject jokes, things like that. I know some guys who do it as a dad joke throughout the whole thing, right? Like everything's this horrific dad joke, but he owns the fact that the jokes are horrific, and that becomes the shtick. Some people, they'll jump into the war stories as a form of entertainment, and as long as all of it is done with the right mixture of injection, inflection, timing, it can all work to keep any topic entertaining and fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Awesome.
There's a lot that goes into delivering highly engaging content. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of subtle psychological tests and little tricks and techniques. And, this is like one of the pullouts is like just standing to the left of the screen.
Yep.
right? If an instructor stands to the left of the screen, because we here in America, we read left to right, that means you're going to focus on me before you focus on the screen. And that subtle sublimation kind of thing that's going on in your head, it goes somewhere. Because if I give up if I stand on the right side, well, then you're staring at the screen and you never get to me, and I'm the performer. Like, it's a million little things that makes that whole thing move.
Yeah. And it works. I mean, I had, after taking your class at Whammer, and just absolutely, for some reason, not knowing how to talk about myself, but after that, I had to come up with a presentation I did for one of our medic classes, and it was on our trauma stuff. And I thought it was pretty funny because one of the students saw my presentation initially, and he saw that, like, I only had pictures in the opening, and then at the end case study, he's like, "Oh, you got all this, like, it's just information slides." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm the performer." I'm like, "You aren't going to know about it." And I mean, it was just that. It was just a couple bullet points we went through, and at the end of it, he was like, that was awesome. And I was like, yeah, like, you got scared when you didn't see the coloring book and all the pictures. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to learn something. But it worked out.
It does work out, and that's developing your style. And you'll go through, and what are you, like 14, 15 right now? So as you like go into your 20s and you start teaching more and more, you will develop a style of how you want to present that information, and with minimum information on the screen. Sometimes you'll get to the point you don't even actually need the PowerPoint. Yep. Like there's times I finish a lecture and I'm like, you know what? Let's just flip through this real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. And that in and of itself allows you to freelance the classroom, because by the end of the day, you're not going to miss any information because it's all right there.
No, but one thing I want to throw on top of that is, like, be careful of whatever your persona that you're going to pick, and that's your stage feel. Be careful of doing something like Carrot Top. Right. So like that guy right now, he's 68 years old. He's probably regretting that whole shtick that he picked up. It was cute when he was 20, but now it's not so cute. So try to get something that has legs.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of keeping in the same wheelhouse. What has been the most rewarding part about utilizing your platform that you've developed?
I'll say going to conferences, going to classes, meeting people out in the wild, and they're going, I got my promotion or I got my job because of you. I like that. That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I like seeing and hearing about the connections that get made. So everything that we do in HAZMAT, it's all related to each other in some way, shape, or form, right? So when somebody initially sits down, they go through a tech class or a science class, like they're learning all these individual points, and it feels like they're not connected. And then over time, we connect them. And to see that look on somebody's face when it clicks, and like that.
Jesus, Brennan.
What the hell was that?
That was my pager.
I forgot to turn it off. They got med jobs here.
That to me is one of the most rewarding parts of all this.
Nice.
Awesome.
Like
I will go, since we've got the time, allow Gravy to double dip here and come back with his second question that he has, which is, was there ever a moment where you thought this could go very wrong very fast? Now it can get into war stories time.
Oh yeah. I actually just talked about my answer in Massachusetts the other day, and I actually talk about it in almost every class that we're doing chemical physical properties or metering, and it has to do with the fact that there was a time in a propane run where I didn't have enough respect for the idea of vapor density. I didn't meter properly, and I ended up I did burn a lot of people, mild burn, but I put them in a position where things could have gone very bad.
I'm trying to think of one. It probably wouldn't even be a hazmat thing. It would probably be more on the fire side that I perhaps took a little too much, aggressive actions, and it was specifically at a flashover where I pushed one of the newer guys out the second floor window, and because the whole place flashed over, and I stayed inside. Probably wasn't a good idea.
Just to see, just to cool.
They always talk really shitty about the flashover thing. I don't think it's that bad. It was freaking hot. I remember that. Like it blew my whole helmet came apart.
Jeez.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it blew apart my front piece and the back of the helmet. The tail of it came apart, and yeah, it was hot. But luckily the engine was like there like in like 6 seconds, so it wasn't. I got a light toasting, we'll say.
Awesome. Well, going back to your incident a little bit, Mike, like if you want to
Yeah.
expand upon it a little bit, what were some of the things that maybe you learned or that you took from them? That
So I always bring it up when we talk about vapor density, because in hazmat, vapor density is where you find a product, right? Whether it's going to go up in the air or down in the air, and it's an important one to know, but everyone kind of glosses over it. We don't give it a ton of respect, and vapor density is very temperature dependent. Right. So if I'm looking up information and I see that propane has a vapor density of 1.5, well, that's 1.5, assuming that both temperatures of the product are the same. If I start changing temperature, right, very similar to if I were to take a steel ball and chill it, it'll going to become more dense. Well, the vapors become more dense and they become heavier. And we had this propane leak, and I was metering low, but I wasn't metering low enough. I was about 2 inches off the ground. And if I had taken my probe and gotten another couple of millimeters down further, the difference between those few millimeters was the difference of being in an explosive atmosphere and not being in an explosive atmosphere. So that little bit, that tiny little distance had the potential to make the difference of destroying 2 buildings and putting guys' lives in danger, and realizing that, oh my God, something's here, we need to expand our search out a little bit more. And basically we did a barrel burn, which is a type of propane burn off, let out a tremendous amount of product in the process, and created a fire front that extended through the backyard and up the driveway.
All right. So the way that it was solved was that burn off, and that's also what kind of ignited that incident, or the additional propane.
Well, the propane was leaking to begin with, so we had propane that was leaking, and the burn off caused the ignition of the propane in the atmosphere.
Gotcha.
That was there. That went undetected, and it was because I didn't put the probe to the floor. In all my other experiences, because of temperature differences, right? Propane, when it comes out in the liquid form, it auto refrigerates very, very rapidly, becomes very cold. So those vapors are near minus 41 degrees. So you have a minus 41 degree vapor, you have a 70 degree, evening. It was an August evening. So that is a tremendous temperature difference, right? We're looking at over 100 degree temperature difference, and it just squished those vapors right to the floor. And I didn't take that into account.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I appreciate expanding on it though, so everyone can kind of maybe learn from maybe that's the mistake that someone needs, but especially kind of in our area, because we do deal with, especially Brennan's area, he's got a lot more of a rural coverage, but we've got a lot of propane incidents where you could even have that involved just at a house fire. I mean, if you get a rural house fire, especially, you got a lot of propane tanks that's there, line gets cut, something like that. So propane's a gas we deal with a lot.
Yep. Yeah. Put your meter to the floor. That's all I can tell you.
Awesome. Well, that it does the kind of targeted questions we have, but that doesn't mean the good ones are done, because Brennan's got the rest of them for you.
All right.
So what do you got?
So this one, we asked everybody, so you can take it however you want. The question is, why are we here?
Like philosophically?
Well, when you want.
When a mommy and daddy love each other.
Why are
we've gotten spiritual answers, we've gotten fire service answers, we've gotten the birds and the bees answers, whatever you want.
What makes this question so fun? Everyone has a different answer.
I was talking to Brian yesterday, one of the guys that works with us, and like all the choices that you make over your lifetime, like, would you want to change any of them? And I'm like, if I did, I wouldn't be sitting here. So like, I'm good with all the choices that I've made. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't see you at that conference a couple of months ago, right? I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't, ask Mike to come on the podcast. Like, all these roads that put us in these seats personally are all because of, I don't know, decisions I made over the last like 15, 20, 30 years. And it's interesting how it all comes together, but that's mine.
Yeah. I guess if we look at it from, I guess the answer is going to depend on how you personally view ththings. If you're looking at it from like the 1 million foot view, right, then you start to get into the philosophical, spiritual, the universe is the universe, us, all that nonsense. But if you're asking it from the point of view of like why we're doing what we're doing, well, one, right, we want to make money. Right, we're all in business to make money, and two, we have an opportunity to make money, and at the same time educate people and kind of live in a world that we lived and responded in, and still be part of that world, and not completely disconnect from a world that we absolutely loved.
Awesome, I like it.
Awesome.
What training/conferences have been your favorite to attend? There's a lot of them around.
Ooh. The greatest conference ever was in Key West. That was our conference. I was being a douche. Yeah.
You know what? I've gone like over the last 10 plus years, I've gone to an awful lot of HAZMAT conferences. And I see ones that are great. I see ones that kind of are not so great. You see ones that are blatant sales pitches, and you see ones. I will say that I don't know. Maybe this is kind of like a too much of a into this question, but the conference that it was Wisconsin, right? That's when we. So Wisconsin is unique because they do multiples of every single show, which is not typical. And the reason why I say that is because that's very much like centered on the experience of the people coming to it. And the difference is, if you go to, let's say, another conference, they'll have one instructor give one topic one time, right? And that is very different because they are looking for your department, because you can't sit in multiple rooms at one time. What they're looking to do is have you send more people to the conference, meaning you get a little bit more coin, right? And so Wisconsin is unique because they're set up for the people. They have that done over and over and over. So there's pros and cons to like all the conferences. The networking, it's the same circus, different clowns.
You know?
Yeah, but there's more beer up by us too. So
absolutely. Also, and cheese.
And cheese, old fashions, bourbon. It's
curd.
We know how to party.
Yeah, you guys know how to do it. No, but like, after you're doing the conference circuit for a while, you get to meet all of those HAZMAT instructors. Some of them are current and are grinding their teeth, and they're getting out there. Some of them have been around for a little while. They have a good following, and then you'll see guys out there that I'll nicely say are past their prime, right? That are still giving the same old shtick, although they haven't responded in like 10 years, 20 years. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but at the same time, is like when you're driving on the highway, you're gonna have to check your mirrors every once in a while, because if somebody creeps up your ass, you're supposed to pull to the right lane, and be self-aware of that kind of stuff. And that's one of the things that me and Mike struggle with is like, you in general, when you retire, you got about a 4-year shelf life before your expired milk. And us on the podcast, we like to say that because we do so much of this stuff and we're so plugged in and we're talking to all these people, we might get 10 years out of it. But eventually, it's over.
Yeah, and we see it now. We talk with the guys from the firehouse. New technologies are coming in, new runs are happening, new techniques, new hazards are showing up. And if you're not actively trying to keep on top of it, you very quickly lose that connection with the audience. Because if experience is part of your connection, and then all of a sudden you're talking, the last event that you can tell a war story about is from 15 years ago. You kind of disconnect from that. That generational gap becomes extremely wide,
and it gets harder and harder. You guys are, I would say, on the newer side of the careers, right? And once you retire and you go back to your firehouse, I was in that firehouse for 20 plus years. I knew everybody. I knew where all the bodies were buried. I knew where all the tools were. And then I'm gone for a year or 2 years, and you knock on the door, and it's the face. I don't know who this guy is, and he don't know who the hell I am. But I was the biggest. Oh, it's Bobby. But to me, I'm just the
Yep.
guy knocking on the door. Like, who the hell is this
You
clown?
know, but the saddest day of my, like, I guess, career in hazmat wasn't when I retired. It wasn't when I put my papers in. It wasn't my last day. It wasn't when I cleaned out my locker. It was the day I realized I got taken off the group message in the firehouse.
Yeah.
Like, once I was off the group message, I had no idea what was going on, and it was like lights out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the what was that, Pacini and Goodfellas, when he walks into the room and it's empty and he's like, oh crap. Boom, lights out.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. How should we look at failures?
As the only path to success.
Yeah.
When I was a probie, I was told over and over again, if you're not fucking up, it's because you're not stepping up. Like, end of story. You're just literally not trying hard. You know, and there's tons and tons of examples of people giving that, right? They give the number of times that Babe Ruth struck out. You know, it was way more than the number of home runs that he ever hit. There's a famous economist, not an economist, but a capitalist that's out there. I can't remember his name, but he says, you know, being successful is like being pregnant. Everybody congratulates you, but nobody talks about how many times you got fucked in the process. So the idea of failure is embedded in the very foundation of success. And if you can't handle failure, you're not going to be able to get to where you want to go.
Yeah,
I like that very much.
I think as probies, we should be conditioned to think, you know, failure is part of the thing. It's not a point of weakness. We come into firehouse and we don't want to screw up. We don't want to be that guy. I don't know how to mop, and not everybody, like, you know, not to paint. Oh, when I came on, but like, we were much more hands on. Like, we would tune the saws, and we would open up things, and
Yeah, you had to feed the horses. Like,
you had to feed the horses, right? Yeah. You know,
That
but
hurts, man.
hey, you called me 14. I had to find a way to get it back, man.
no, like nowadays, it's a little bit more of it's disposable. You know, we don't really fix as much. We just get a new one, and that's not a bad thing. But you know, the basics that we assume are true, like, hey, you know, help me out with this ratchet strap. I've seen a couple of guys that don't know how to operate a ratchet strap, and I'm not pissing on them. All I'm saying is, when we're taking these guys in and we're bringing the new guy in, tell him it's your job to screw up. Like, you have a free pass of 5 years. You can screw up as much as you want. I won't crush you. But after 5 years, if you're not taking those lessons and internalizing them and improving the game, well, now you're just a shitbag. Right? Because now you're hiding behind the shell.
I think you're still going to get crushed. I think you just have to be okay with it.
You have to be good.
Yeah. And you can crush people, but you can't destroy them, right? Like, well, I don't know. Maybe this day and age, right? All you snowflakes running around, you know, you can't insult each other. It's got to be a safe place and all that crap. But
the Oreo technique compliments in between. I love your hair today. You really fucked
By the way,
up
you
ladder
fucked that up.
throw,
But man, that shirt looks great on you. Yes, exactly. All that nonsense. But if you can both give and take, you know, like, I'm going to break your balls for fucking up, but I'm also knowing that I'm expecting you to fuck up, right? So the ball breaking is to make sure you don't forget the lesson, not to destroy who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That goes right into your last question here, Brennan.
What do you tell your probies to expect when they get hired? On day one, what expectations are you given? As a senior firefighter, captain, lieutenant? We got 2 brand new probies coming on, and we kind of, you know, give them a list of expectations, like, hey, be down the apparatus bay, you know your truck and everything like that. What do you guys expect?
I think that is important, is articulating your expectations. I think I've seen firehouses and probies and senior guys that did it right, and I've seen them where they did it wrong. And I'll give you examples, like ones that they didn't clearly articulate. Hey, I expect you to be up until midnight. You're going to be around the fire. You're going to mop at the end of the night. You're going to wake up. You're going to be the first one downstairs. You're going to go. Those things are articulated. So the guy is like, got it. now I know the rules. If he screws up, he's going to get the bowl busting. But if you just go, why aren't you the first guy down? Because I didn't know I was supposed to be the first guy down. And so those are those asshole senior guys that are setting the kid up for failure over and over. And they're hated. And they're like, I don't know why everybody hates me because I'm so badass. It's like, no, because you're bad.
You're a douche.
That's it. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Right? I like articulate. There was one firehouse I went to, and we call it detailing, like when you have to go to another firehouse to kind of fill in a spot.
Yep.
And when the new probie came in, and I happened to be there the first day, they actually gave him like a book. And it was like, here's all the things we do in this firehouse. Take a week, read it, and then come back to me and talk about it. If you have any questions, I'm here for you, but this is your Bible right now. And I saw it and I was like, wow, that's really like they're like, that book has been around since like the 40s. And like it's handed on and it's passed on, and every new guy writes their updates in it, and it's a living document. And I said, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, intimidating, because you're looking at somebody that was writing shit in there in the 60s.
Yeah.
And when we might talk about this, is like the paradigm. Why do we do this? Well, because we've always done it this way. Right. And like, so like we've learned the rules and we've never seen the reason why the rule came about. Yeah. Right. And so as the probie, as the new guy, you should encourage them to not only accept the rules, the rules of that book, but also to be okay to step outside the rules within reason, because we have to myth bust. Like the old say, like, firemen love the way things are and hate change, right? They hate the way things are and hate change, right? So, like, be okay with saying, hey, listen, why do we do it like this? You know what? That's a good point. I don't know. That's from like the horses being done.
Right. Why do we have this tool? Why do we do it this way? If the answer is ever, well, that's because of the way we've always done it, then it's time to re-examine that technique. It may be correct, right? That may be the best technique in the world, but if you don't know why you're doing something, how do you know you're doing it the best way possible?
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that.
I think people have to know the why to actually be engaged in it and be passionate about it.
Yeah.
If they don't, I mean, you're like, this is how I've always done it. And you're like, well, this doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
You either tell me if it makes sense or not.
It's the why, like much to what you're saying, Brennan. The why is the contextual part of the lesson. Right. I can tell you we do this, but it's just like, okay, that's the rule. It doesn't. I don't internalize that. But if you convince me of like why this is the best thing, I am your most fervent supporter. I will fight people for you because now I get it.
Yeah.
Now, but there's a caveat to that, right? We're not saying don't do anything until you know why. We're saying question everything, right? Like if somebody comes and is like, hey, I need you to go do this way, and you're in the middle of like a fire and you're like, well, I'm not going to do that until you explain to me why, because I want to make sure that's the best way. You're going to get your goddamn ass handed to you when you go back to the firehouse. Like it's not, don't do it until you know why. Like you respectfully have to sometimes do things, but you can also figure out the best way of doing them later on. So question things, but always listen, but question.
Yeah.
We've talked about before that's probably the biggest generational gap. Is what it used to be was people waited years probably to ask the why. It was you were told this, you did it because that's it. You have one mouth, two ears. You're supposed to shut up, listen there. Now you get probies coming in, you get brand new people coming in. When they're asking why, they're not like, why? It's because they genuinely want to know. And it's just that disconnect that it used to be shut up, listen, you do what you're told. Now it's kind of like they're not trying to be disrespectful, but they do in the appropriate times want to know why we're doing these things, why you're doing this. And the old guard might get it rubbed a little the wrong way because it's like, well, because I told you to. So,
well, that's incumbent on that senior guy that adjusting with the times as well, because he's got to be like, listen, I like that you asked me the whys. Not every time you ask why, I'm going to give you the why. You're just going to have to assume sometimes that I'm telling you the truth. And if I have the time to tell you or the understanding to tell you, I will. But even if I don't tell you the why, there's a reason why I'm not doing that.
Lots of why. Lots of whys.
There is, and you got to be upfront with it.
Yeah,
I can, and that's the difference, right? Good senior man, bad senior. I can remember when I first got on the job, I was a probie. The back of the kitchen wall needed to be cleaned, right? It was all greasy and stuff like that. I swear to God, right? And the guy wanted me to just clean it with like soap and a rag, and he was insistent that I just clean it with a soap and a rag. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. So I when he left, I went to the apparatus floor. I got truck wash, which has is really good for cleaning off dirt and grease, and it's got all the chemicals needed to really do a job. I cleaned it with that. It came out spectacular, and he flipped his shit because I didn't do it the way he told me to. And when I tried to figure out why, his only answer was because I told you to do it that way. And I was like, you're a douchebag.
Yeah, that's micromanagement. As long as you got the job done, however you wanted to
maybe
do
even
it.
better.
Maybe better.
I mean, if he had a reason, then that's great. Then I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. Like, you had a reason. But if you don't have a reason, if you're just doing it to make somebody's life more difficult because you can, that's a shitbag.
Yeah,
absolutely. The question that we have from our previous guest, Jared, is a two-parter. So it starts off with kind of what we talked about with teaching, but this is more for the on-the-job engine and ladder guys. And his question is, how do you make hazmat exciting for dumb engine and ladder guys? When you've got to teach your department, you've got to tell them, hey, this is hazmat. What are you really focusing on?
My answer to that would be, you don't, we do. So bring us in to teach your classes.
perfect.
Moving on.
You gotta make things relatable to the audience, and that's it. Make it relatable to the audience. Give them a reason for listening to you, other than you have to sit here and listen to me.
I mean, there's plenty of reasons out there. Like, it says it in NFPA, it says it in OSHA. Like, it's required that we do it. You don't have to like doing it, and that's the repackaging. That's the whole. The hardest job of a boss is to get them not to do the job, but to want to do the job.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like a little bit of psychological warfare. That's a little bit of being friendly and not being standoffish. And there's techniques, because there's good bosses and there's shit bosses. There's leaders and there's bosses. Right. And then, I come from an area. I think you guys have volunteers, fire departments up there. And you have paid fire departments, right? And New York City is a large mass. It's a medium-sized fire department in the Northeast, right? And then you have
not the largest in the country at all.
But then you have a shitload of volunteer fire departments, and the city guys will say, "Oh, all it takes is it's social promotion in the volunteers. All you need to be as a boss is to be somebody's popular friend." And in New York City Fire Department, you got to take a test, right? So I'm like, so what's better? A guy that takes a good test but is a complete asshole, or a guy that's a great leader but is dumb as a box of rocks? And there is no answer to that.
No.
You want typically the best of both worlds, but each system does not reward for both of them.
Yeah.
And at least
Very true.
the voting system can rule out incompetency on the fire, the fire ground that isn't knowledge based, right? Like, you are an incompetent leader. I do not want you as my boss. Boom, I'm voting against you. I could, you could have the most incompetent person in the world learn the information and pass the test and still never be a good boss.
And we have tons of those bosses that they got promoted, tried to go to a firehouse. The firehouse revolted against them, and they found their little closet at the training academy, and they spent the rest of their career in the closet because they just weren't bosses.
Absolutely. The second part to his question, which I very much am interested in, especially because in our world, especially in this the northern area in Wisconsin, with all that, we don't really have a designated team. It's not like we have a hazmat team that's staffed. It's someone that has to get filled. So your first responding unit, and probably still even in New York, is going to be an engine or a ladder truck, someone that maybe not as specialized. And his question is, how can they affect the first 5 minutes better?
I would say meter early and correctly. It will keep, me personally, I think monitoring your metering will keep more people safe long term than almost any other corrective action.
For me, there's not a lot that operations people can do in the grand scheme of, like, so your first responder, right? I know I say operations, that's your typical firefighters trained to the operations level. But the stuff that they can do needs to be done properly and with good intentions, and that can make a big difference, right? Like we pull up on scene first. What's the first thing that we want to focus on? We always want to focus on life. Okay, great. If life is no longer part of the equation, now you're looking at what we call your defensive operations. So to know and understand your defensive operations, you will be able to defend the scene outside of the hot zone and possibly prevent it from getting bigger, maybe help to bring the situation down from like a 10 to an 8, slow things down a little bit. And you can do it in a way that prevents our people, firefighters, from getting injured, which is only going to make things more difficult when a hazardous materials specialist or technician does show up on scene. So like everything else in the fire service, it's knowing your job and doing it properly.
Awesome. I like it. Well, that wraps up the questions that we have for you guys. So now the last part before we get to our wrap up portion that we call the kitchen table, where you guys will just have the mic and share whatever you want, is the question for our next guest. I'm going to introduce our next guest a little bit because it's going to be a unique episode because we are kind of doing a sticky subject with nowadays, and it's politics. What we have, our next guest is going to be Mike Thorough. He is a Milwaukee firefighter currently. He is a HAZMAT team member. In fact, he teaches HAZMAT, but he is running for Congress. He's running independent for our district in Wisconsin. He came to our union. I don't know if he's been to yours yet, Brennan, because he's in both of our districts, but gave his pitch. He's got some fantastic ideas. He is what Brennan and I truly believe the good person that nowadays everyone wants. It's not this, you have to choose one side. He's just going for what's right. And so we reached out to him after he came and talked and gave them a little bit of a platform to come on and share some knowledge. We're going to ask him some firefighting questions as well, but then we're going to let him get into his pitch for why he thinks he should get your guys' vote. So again, this is going to be for the Wisconsin 5th District, but we're kind of hoping that he still just gets a chance to share his story. We're going to definitely still learn some stuff from him. He's a Milwaukee fire guy. He's got lots of experience. And I guess you can aim your question at him in whatever way you want. If you want the Congress running side, the HAZMAT side, Milwaukee, whatever it is, the floor is yours to come up with one for him.
I have an idea. It might be dumb. It's a question that he's going to have to answer. I would love for him to have to answer it live.
Okay.
So the question is, demonstrate how long you can hold your breath. Right? And just have him hold his breath for as long as he can on the screen.
I like it. That's a twist.
Right? But like, it's not really a question. It's just you got to perform.
What happens when he asks, what is this going to demonstrate for people?
Just, how much he wants the job. Just the longer you can hold it, the more votes you're going to get.
We'll start a ticker.
I was going down a completely different rabbit hole.
I wrote it down on the side. I'm like, how long can you hold your breath?
I would have said, assuming that you are a good guy, how do you enter a system, affect the system without letting the system affect you?
I love that.
Like, how are you going to maintain that I'm a good guy presence when all there is malfeasance and corruption within the system?
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. That's a good one. I also like the holding the breath part. We should make him hold the breath. Then
Well,
answer.
I wrote it down. It's happening. He's
happening.
holding his breath. But I love that question because that's exactly what we're getting him in for, because that was one of his running points, and what he told us about is that's his goal. His inspiration, I'm not going to take much away from him. He's going to tell the story, but his inspiration basically came from corruption and laziness. He felt that there was representation that just felt that they would get elected no matter what they did, and so they just ended up not doing anything. And he got really upset about that, and his kid asked him then do something about it. So
how do you keep yourself from becoming a beast when you're fighting a beast?
I love it. Awesome. So like I said, the last part that we have is what we call the kitchen table, because as you guys know, all the world's problems are solved around it. And it is anything that you guys would like to share. The rest of this floor is yours. If there's people to shout out, topics you want to dive into a little bit more that we didn't really hit on, just anything that you want for the listeners to know.
Oh God,
I'll shout out to you guys. I think this is great, and you know what, the podcast thing, the building of communities, the sharing of ideas and concepts, and not being afraid to put yourself out there. It's rather unique. We were talking before we started the podcast, is that we started a media company to help incubate shows.
Mm-hmm.
Get guys that are like, oh, I got something to say, I just don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the threshold to get on one of these things has never been lower. To start up your own podcast. Honestly, I was telling them before, we can renovate this podcast to cost zero. Like legitimately $0. But it's not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having the balls to put out what your opinions are and then standing by them. That's not in a lot of supply in today's world. I don't think.
No, maybe justifying the opinion in a respectful, debateful way is in short supply. We could definitely use a little more of that.
Yeah. No one's been less scared to share their opinion than everybody nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, but the conversation's needed. Not everybody, just as much as everybody wants to have, everybody wants to be Joe Fireman. I want to be on get the irons. I want to get the nozzle. Well, you know it as well as I do. There are guys that are barely good enough to be hydrants.
Yeah.
Like that's your whole job. You pat him on the head and you're like, you good boy, you'll hit the hydrant. And that's the best he's ever going to get. Right. So not everybody gets a microphone, but I think more people should take a swing and let the market demand it. If 10 if you did 10 episodes and you get some people listening to you and they want to hear what you think, then you keep going. And if you suck, then hang it up and walk away.
For sure.
Absolutely.
It's good, man. You guys keep it up.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We thank you guys extremely much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come on, share some awesome knowledge that I know we get some people there. I know my old battalion chief is a big HAZMAT guy, and he tells everybody whenever conference we go to take your guys' classes. So he was pretty excited to hear that we're going on. I don't think he's going to listen. I don't know. We'll see. But so I know it's kind of awesome because you guys have made that just impact. I mean, countrywide, especially maybe worldwide. I don't know exactly where you guys have been, but that hazmat can be fun. And even if it isn't the hazmat, it's just learning something. And it's been pretty cool to learn about. I love that you guys are further expanding on helping things out as well with the media company and all that stuff, just not stopping. So thank you guys for all of that and for coming on.
Oh, thank you guys for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you guys. Again,
nice to meet you as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And as always, don't be a shitbag.
Stay tuned for the next episode. Don't be a shitbag.